Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are back with our friend Randy Swaim, coaching for relevance, name of the company. Amazing man. Excited to have him here. And he's back to give us more insight into his life, his book, his coaching, his family, his leadership, his thoughts. How's it going?
It's going well, and it's always a pleasure to be on here with you, my friend, and I appreciate that. So yeah, it's always good.
Thank you so much, sweetheart. So, what are we going to dive into today?
What I was going to do, as you know, over the last one or two, I kind of included some dysfunctional aspects of managers
Okay.
that was not true leadership, and how they're sort of not aware of that leadership and aspects of it. And I was just going to bring one more out today because it's one that I observed in a manager, um, and it's another key aspect of that aspect of uh, sort of that aspect of dysfunction where you're leaving leadership aside and you're just playing control freak manager stuff, and that is something that as a leader you don't want to gravitate to, and it, as a leader it's a lot deeper and a lot bigger than that. And so I was just going to share that just because it's something that I observed. And I think in our last show,
Yeah.
I mentioned that there was one manager that I observed. Well, this was that same manager that I observed. So I'm going to kind of bring it as we go.
Perfect. Well,
And
thank you.
what it is, it's something that leaders out there, it's something that they have to be aware of, and they have to be aware of when maybe they're doing something wrong, or whether they're doing something that's not really bringing their team where they need them and want them. And um and uh and that's kind of an aspect of it. So I just thought I would share, and it's always very aligned also with organizational maneuverability, where everything is not just rote academic focused. Everything is not just superficial. Things are deeper. Things are sometimes more challenging a little bit. Not that they're really kind of throwing you into the trash or anything like that, but that you have to be aware of other facts that
Yeah, for sure.
that and know what you need to do to get the real success out of it. And so that's just what I show, because I observed that this one aspect in that manager again, and I figured, you know what, I'll just share it because it is a good, a little bit of a picture of what I'm talking about when you're talking about leading your team, instead of just thinking that my job is to just dictate control and you know all that kind of stuff. Because if that's your own focus, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
You're missing the boat in a lot of ways. And
Sure.
so I uh, just thought that that's what I'd share real quick today.
Thank you. Well, it's not too quick because we got plenty more time to talk about it. So
Well, that's true too.
I know,
That's true
I
too.
know, I know. And for those that don't know, just Randy, please just present us with a little overview of what you do overall.
Well, what I do overall, I'm a Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach, and I'm also a certified master level neuroplastician with the NPN Hub and the
Mm-hmm.
Institute for Organizational Neuroscience in Germany. And neuroscience is how you're really aware of how your brain is truly working, and you're not just going into rote things, but you're
Yep.
very much aware of what your brain is doing at given points, so that you can make the right call, and but also know how you need to kind of switch your brain just a little bit if you need to, and everything. And so those are the things that I bring. But a lot of one big area where I bring them is involving jet pilots, and training and certifying flight crews and jet pilots. Because guess what? That's a situation where a lot of things can be unexpected sometimes. And there are some factors that come on the scene that make you go, "Oh, wow," kind of thing. Now, in fact, I posted one on my Facebook and on my social media this morning that was just a little, probably about a 5 minute recording and stuff that talked about one aspect back when I was in the Air Force and we were flying fighters and stuff, and so
Wow.
it's just some aspects about that, and this will be just sort of one little bit of a picture of that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing us into your world, into your light, and seeing the world through your eyes. Someone who is very attentive, who really understands leadership, and who has been helping so many for such a long period of time with different perspectives. And it's something sometimes we don't just see on our own. You need some of that
Hmm.
guidance, and you are here for us today. Go for it,
Cool.
Brandy. What are we talking about now?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll first of all I'll just mention
Mm-hmm.
the one thing that I observed with this one manager that
Okay.
was sort of the dysfunctional aspect about it. Um, and it's not that she was just being malicious and violent and all that. No, not at all. But she just there were aspects about it that didn't didn't understand, and so that's what it is. But what I will say is that in the process of the training aspect of their team that is training pilots and
Yep.
things of that nature and everything, one of the things that she did because she thought it was really pretty good was that she could kind of
Mm-hmm.
change things a little bit and add to some aspects of the training certain aspects about AVT, which is basically the automation in your airplane where you're having to get an idea as to how it's working and how it's creating the navigation and all of that sort of stuff and everything, and getting some aspects about that. But what was interesting is a lot of it changed to the extent where some of the instructors may not have been
Yeah.
really aware of what they need to do differently when they're with the pilots and stuff, the clients that they're working with. And and I mentioned one thing to her, but all she did is she said, "Well, we just got to do this, and we got to take this over here and do that kind of thing, and all this sort of stuff." And and the aspect about that, that just you do see some managers that do that sort of thing, and I don't mean
Yeah.
like in any just the company that I'm with or anything, but just all around society. You see this, and uh, what people are doing is very often when you see a manager doing that, they're thinking solely on rote superficial aspects, and they're just saying, okay, well, we need to do this. But you know what? When you come out and think that we need to do this,
Oh yeah.
it's not wrong with
Mm-hmm.
the adaptation and the change that that manager made in the program and everything. But the bottom line is, if your whole mindset is just telling people they got to do this and hey, we got to do that, and all this sort of stuff, you know what? The your mindset is completely shut down and it's different. Because here's the thing, if you have people that have not trained on that aspect for a long time, guess what? Now, you can say, well, you can just go into this book and read it. But you know what? The thing that's missing if a manager says that is that when somebody goes into that book with the wording that is, applied in maybe the paragraphs that they read or whatever, kind of thing, the phraseology and the wording may not be clear in their mind. And and here's the thing, what and this is just the central aspect of sort of what I'm bringing with this. When you're the manager, if all you're doing is just trying to tell people to do this and threaten this and you're missing the boat. What you
Yeah.
want, what you want to do is you want to connect with them in a team aspect and be able to kind of clarify together what you're really doing, what you're really bringing across, and how that's going to be applied, and what's the value of that, and things of that nature. And as a manager, if all you're doing is dictating and saying you need to do this now, kind of thing or whatever, uh, just because you added it to the program or whatever. If that's
Hmm.
all you're doing, guess
Then,
what? You're
yeah.
missing the boat, and you're not being a team, and you're not being a
Uh,
leader. And
uh,
so the thing is, and I've done this a number of times in my whole career, where I go to people and I ask them questions
yeah,
on what, and I ask them questions that get them kind of answering some questions and bringing some ideas out and bringing some thoughts out. And in most cases, when they did that, I was able to point out with, you know what, that's exactly where we're going. Good,
oh,
good on you, kind of thing. And 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 so it's just something to think about, that when you're this aspect of true leadership, and not just dictating, not just kind of trying to control things and control this, that, and the other, kind of thing. If all you're doing is just trying to kind of not threaten the people, but describe the threats if it doesn't work or something like that, kind of thing, and that's all
yeah,
you're doing, you're not being a team, you're not being a leader, and you're not getting it done. And so it's just a key aspect about that that a lot of people need to kind of rethink about what they're doing and how they're going about doing it. And like I said, if all you're doing is doing it very superficially and saying, we just got to do this, we just got to do that, or whatever, you're not getting the job done. You're not being a leader. You're not connecting with your people, and you're not helping their brain truly uncover what they want to accomplish on this. And and um, And so if you're having them sort of shut their brain down because they're feeling like you're just sort of in a light way attacking them or whatever, or just playing control freak games, you're missing the boat. And so uh, like I said, as a leader, if you want to be a true leader, you don't want to just go with that. You want to make sure that not only do they have the picture of where you're taking this in a
yeah,
general sense, but but in your mind and in your vision, you have a real clarity on the fact that they're ready to do that, and they have the vision of it. They have the picture of it. They know what they're doing and how they're going to go about doing it and things of that nature. And a lot of people that are just pure managers don't do that. They just kind of go with that superficial thing, but in their mind they say, well, they're just going to do what I tell them to do. They're just going to do this, and if they don't, I'll have to kind of talk to them, all that sort of stuff. And if that's what you're doing, you're not being a leader. You're being a control freak. You're being just a manager, and you're being focused on yourself, not on your team.
yeah,
And so it's just some aspects about that a lot of people don't kind of realize. But the bottom line is, in any environment out there, regardless of the industry that you're in, regardless of what you're doing or whatever, um, you need to have a true understanding of what real leadership is and what you need to be doing that. But also, not only are you kind of preparing your team to be able to step forward on it, but it's not superficial, and you connect with them in such a way that they believe that you think they can do it, and they are really getting clarity and strategic clarity in their mind for what they need to do and how they need to do it together to get there. And if all you're doing is superficially saying, well, they should do that, you're not getting it done. You're not being a leader. And uh, and so that's just something to think about, that obviously, in people in industries today, need to be really thinking about the aspect of being a real true leader in leading your team and really creating your team, but also conversing with them well, and not just a control freak dictating thing, but a conversation that helps your team truly grow in vision and become what you're looking for them to become and create with where you're going. And
Got
so
it.
it's just a key point that a lot of people in today's world don't have a full understanding of. It's not just about you telling them. It's not just about you dictating. It's not just about you saying, well, hey, you know what? We want to change this. We want to start doing this right here. Okay. Do your people truly know how you should do that? You know what? A lot of times, maybe not. But the answer to that is not when you're just dictating to them that they have to do this. No, it's about you having the conversations with them where they really gain the vision inside of them and inside their brain, and they have absolute clarity on how they're going to work together, but also how they're going to achieve this going forward. And that's what just a lot of people don't know. If in today's world, if you have managers that just sit there and just dictate and say, well, do this and do that or whatever, they're not getting the job done. And there's a whole aspect of neuroscience to this whole aspect of, mentally processing and understanding how we're going to do that and what's the value of that and what makes it what we really want to do with this. And your team starts working together and as a unity there, and really perhaps making some radical results happen that people didn't think about. And so it's just something to think about with that aspect of the manager. Sometimes when you're a manager, you got to think about how you got to bring more leadership into it and not just dictating and managing and telling people what to do and all that, but having a sense on, and not just telling the superficial things of how to do it, but with the situations that are challenging in your journey, in your team's journey, you know. Um, you know, do you have the leadership that helps them develop the ability to overcome the challenges that they didn't expect and that you probably didn't expect, and and how you're going to really achieve and overcome and become in that. And so it's just something to think about, that when you're talking about this, like I say, if you just have a manager that's just looking to just dictate and say, here, do this, and write something down or whatever, they're not being a leader. And you want your people that are managing teams and managing areas of your company, you want them to become true leaders, because that's where radical results can happen. And it's just something that a lot of people don't think about. But I just, like I say, when I observed that in the one manager, I said, you know what? That's another aspect of what I'm talking about. And so it's just, you know, as a manager, it's not just about you dictating and all that kind of stuff, but it's about you dictating, but also you leading in such a way. Because here's the thing: if you're leading well, 9 times out of 10, you don't have to dictate quite as hard. And because your team is going to typically get there even without you threatening and, playing dictatorial games and stuff. And so it's a matter of priority on which one is more important. And when you're a manager, are you truly leading, or are you throwing leadership aside and just doing your thing? If you're doing that, you're not. Cause, and some people in today's world, and we've all probably heard somebody with this, but a lot of people in today's world have this thing that they just, if there's anybody that's resisting what they're telling them, they just say they're goofy, they're idiots, they're not, they're just evil, they're not doing anything, kind of thing. And you get some of that going on, and that's not what you really want when you're talking about trying to reach radical success with it. And so it's just something to think about with that, it's just another example of kind of what I observed in one manager, um, of how that was, setting true leadership aside and not really preparing for success. Because here's the thing: if people are going into a certain time period. Maybe there's a 2 hour thing that they're going into with a client or whatever. Guess what? When they go in there, if they have an idea kind of what you said on this, okay, that's one thing. But you know what? If there's no real clarity on how you wanted to do this, how as a team you wanted to make this happen, what do we need to do on here? What do we need to do to make sure the client is smarter and is more aware going forward and things like that? Those are aspects that sometimes people don't see. And if they don't see that, then guess what? The results of what you're talking about is not what you really are looking for, and it's not going to give you the radical success. So it's just something to think about when you're talking about, uh, this one aspect of perhaps being a manager, but not really bringing true leadership to the picture. And so it's just something for the listeners to kind of think about and maybe think about aspects of where they've been and what their journey has been and all that kind of stuff. But what you want to do, you don't want to just be a dictatorial manager. You want to be a true leader person, and you want to bring leadership in such a way that your team develops and becomes not just from your dictating to them, but because of what they observe, what they experience, what they see, and they get to the point where they come up with radical success in a way that nobody expected. And so it's just something to think about on that. But it's just one little aspect there that when you're talking about being a manager of a team or a leader or something like that, you got to be aware of that. And if that is starting to sneak in, you need to put it aside. You need to be focused on the leadership aspect of it. And it's just something to think about it that we, have to be very much aware of it when we are in that. So just something to think about.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, as far as leadership, you've been leading your whole life. Did you ever have to sit back and let others lead, even though you had to grind your teeth and bite your tongue, knowing that it wasn't maybe the best leadership? How do people get through that? Because a lot of us have bosses. A lot of us work with people who think they know how to lead, but we have to respect them. How do you deal with situations like that when you want to tell them there's a better way, but you can't?
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
can we?
And you know what? There are times when you can do that because it's not if it's a boss that is your boss that's doing it, very often 9 times out of 10, it's not by you telling them what to do or you jumping in.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Basically, if they experience within you how you have really brought leadership, a lot of times they may ask you a question. And I've had some people do that in the past, not hundreds or thousands of them, but just a good number of them have because they knew my background and everything, they came in and just asked a question of what I thought with what was going on. And I was able to just give them a quick answer. And sometimes I'd ask them just a quick question on what do you need to do differently? There's been 1 or 2 times where the boss that I worked for in aviation actually came up and told me about a bad situation that happened with one of the maintenance people and everything. And he said, "Randy, what do you think?" And I just gave him a couple of questions to get him thinking, kind of thing. And he was very appreciative of that. I didn't tell him what to do, but if he wanted to ask me on something, he could. But I got his mental processing thinking and going to be able to determine what is really true. And I'll tell you, the Air Force uh, uh, commander that was actually the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, I think from, oh, holy cow, if I remember correctly, I think it was 2001 to
Ah,
2005 or something like that.
wow.
General Richard B. Myers. He was a squadron
Ah,
commander of my squadron at the Fourth Attack Fighter Wing, and
uh-huh.
I flew with him a number of times. And in my autobiography and in the Hollywood movie, one of the things that it mentions is he is one of the finest leaders I ever served with. And I learned a lot about leadership, not from anything that he ever told me, but because of what I observed in how he led, how he led his people, the squadron, his fellow commanders and other squadrons and stuff like that, and how he did that. And I was blown away in a positive way when I found out that, and I think it was 2001, where he became the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of
Wow.
Staff, and he was the very first Air Force commander that did that.
Oh,
And when I first heard it, it was like, oh yeah, because to this day he's still one of the finest leaders I've ever worked with or served with. And but you know what? Like I said, there have been managers, there have been people that because they were aware of a few things that I had in me as we went forward in my thinking and all that kind of stuff. There were some times where a manager came up and asked a question about what I thought on something, and I would kind of answer his question, but also maybe give another couple of questions that just get him thinking or whatever, and they appreciated that. So there have been some times where that has been the case.
oh, wow. Well, thank you, thank you. We still got 3 more minutes left in the show, Randy. If someone out there wants to work with you, tell us how. No, they don't have to. They could just call, chat, but come on,
Yeah.
give us
Yep.
some scoop.
And you know this, my friend, because I've said this a bunch of times. But if you go to my website on the homepage and you go to the very bottom of it, it has my cell phone number and my email address on it. And if somebody wants to reach out and connect with me, like I said, if if they have a need of something, yeah, we'll come up with something. But if all they want to have is a conversation, I'll welcome that, and I won't do cold sale calls with them. I'll just kind of have a conversation with them and chat,
Yeah,
and so yeah, just it's a matter of just making a difference in the world, and hopefully making a benefit to other people. And as you know, I try not to do a whole lot on shows and all that kind of stuff. My whole goal is not to just call attention to myself so much, but to basically give insights where people can apply different insights to what they're doing and how they're going about it and how they're growing and becoming and things of that nature. If some of the things that I kind of bring up, bring that benefit to them, that's what I'm all about. So I'm glad to, and as you know, Jill, I totally appreciate you as a friend and as a colleague here, and I totally appreciate you and just how we connect when we're on a show and stuff like that. So I
ditto,
just
ditto.
very grateful for you.
Same here, sweetheart. Thank you so much. And to contact you one more time, tell us how we can reach you, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you go to the homepage on my website,
Mm-hmm.
coachingforrelevance.com. And if you go right to the very bottom of the homepage, it has my cell phone number there and it has my email address there. So if somebody wants to reach out with a quick email and stuff like that, and basically just have a conversation, we can probably schedule that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, as always. Always a pleasure, darling. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon. By the way, how's the weather out in Dallas? Is it warm, hot, sticky
It,
yet?
it's actually it's actually pretty nice today, and
Good.
it's not hot and it's not like cold. It's just kind of in the middle, kind of thing. But it's the weather's actually pretty decent today here in Dallas and Fort Worth. So that's actually good.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. We're cold in New York again. Loving all the seasons. Up and down, up and down. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Enjoy your day, Randy.
Okay, you too, and we'll be seeing you again.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.